I'm Jeff Hunt. He's Bill Thorpe. It's Monday morning.
Are we going to let somebody out of prison?
Well, I feel like the state does that on an hourly basis, with just one, with the exception of one. We're going to talk with Matt Crane, Tina Peters, about Tina Peters. He is the executive director of the Colorado County Clerks Association. They put together a letter, and we'll dive into this hour plus. Feel free to give us a call or text us. Phone line 303-696-1971. Text us on the Dan Kemplis Law text line at 720-819-5115. Now is time for News and Comment with Blake Olson.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, News and Comment.
Good Monday morning, 34 and sunny out there in Denver, expecting a high of 57 today. News sponsored by Pastor Camp Heating and Air Conditioning at 303-777-1234 to learn more about special savings opportunities on Lennox equipment. Our top story, it's one of the busiest travel weeks of the year, and CDOT officials urging patience on the roads. More than 80 million Americans are going to travel over the next few days.
AAA says more than 6 million people will be traveling at the nation's airports over the Thanksgiving holiday period, a slight increase from last year. This woman having a tough time at Newark Airport.
Our original flight home got canceled, so we got another flight, and we're unfortunately not making it to that one.
Airlines say they're confident they'll be able to handle the extra holiday volume this week following mass cancellations during the government shutdown.
The strategy here is to get early.
As far as the roads go, AAA says the busiest times are the afternoon and early evening period in the days leading up to Thanksgiving. Scott Pringle, MDC News Radio, New York.
Yes, good luck out there this week. Trump appointed Fed Governor Chris Waller, revealing this morning on Fox Business he's pushing for interest rate cuts at the upcoming Federal Reserve meeting, and inflation isn't a concern.
Nothing's really changed. The labor market's soft. It's continuing to weaken. Inflation didn't turn out to be quite as bad as we got when we got the CPI report, when we look forward. So in that sense, for me, I don't think inflation is a big problem going forward. It's going to start pulling back. But the labor market is still weak, and we're getting no evidence telling me it's rebounding, despite what the jobs report for September said. So my concern is mainly the labor market in terms of our dual mandate. So I'm advocating for a rate cut at the next meeting.
And Portland Trail Blazers head coach Chauncey Billups, Denver native, of course, expected to plead not guilty to federal charges today. He's accused of helping lure players unaware of what was going on into rigged poker games. The indictment alleges the games were financed by organized crime families. Many believe this all started years ago when he played in Detroit. DJT maintaining his criticism for Democratic lawmakers, including Colorado's own Jason Crow, who reminded military members, of course, last week to ignore unlawful orders. In a pair of posts over the weekend, 47 said those lawmakers should be in jail right now, and that is what sedition. Was sedition at its highest level. And that it was sedition at its highest level. Sorry about that. A Loveland daycare owner is being investigated for child abuse. The Loveland Police Department announced the arrest of 51-year-old Michelle Renee Sanders on Sunday. The department says a child was injured at Sanders' in-home daycare, and that investigation led to the discovery of several other victims. She's been charged with 1 felony and 3 misdemeanors and was given a bond of $125,000. Efforts to end the Russian-Ukraine war are playing out overseas. Ukrainian President Zelensky says the biggest problem with the U.S.-led peace talks in Geneva has to do with land. Zelensky told the Swedish parliament today that the legally recognizing and giving up land to Russia would violate the principle of sovereignty and territorial integrity. 47 has given Ukraine less than a week to agree to a 28-point plan that calls for Kiev to cede territory to Russia and limit the size of their military. Candace Owens on X last night says that she has told the federal government and the White House of the French and Israeli assassination plot of her, and she's willing to provide full details as well as the name of the assassins and international accounts in France and Canada through which the money was exchanged. She thanked everyone for reaching out and praying for her family. Georgia Governor Brian Kemp will soon set a special election date for a congressional district representing parts of metro Atlanta. He has to figure out the timing for a race to fill Marjorie Taylor Greene's seat. She announced that she was resigning from her seat on January 5th. The Avalanche in Chicago on Sunday.
The glass like we've seen in Nashville. Goofy back. Turnover. Nielsen holds and looks and shoots. Saved by Knight. Shot by McCarr. He scores! Cale McCarr! What an incredible shot!
Thanks, Moj. 1-0 Colorado. 9 straight victories. Scott Wedgwood, 22 saves. His first shutout. And Shedeur Sanders with his first NFL start and victory for the Browns. And the Browns win an ugly game, 24-10, but I'll give credit to Shedeur. He managed it well, along with his offensive coordinator and the two absolute worst teams, or at least top 5 of the worst in the NFL last night. They, I guess they played a football game, but the Browns win it, and Shedeur is 1-0 as a starter.
For me to be prepared to go out there and execute, like from a summer standpoint, that's how life is. You know, everybody's not in the best situation, you know, but it's no excuse. You got to go out there and perform. Like, there's no choice, there's no question. Nobody cares if this was 1 week of prep. Who cares? You know?
Yeah, he's right. Okay, good job saying the right things. Unfortunately, the CU Buffs destroyed by Arizona State over the weekend. 33 in Parker, 32 in Arvada, 34 in Denver, and you're waking up with Jeff and Billy. It's Thursday, Turkey Day time coming up. It's Monday morning on Thanksgiving week. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Your 710 KNUS forecast this early Monday. Some passing clouds this morning, temperatures around 35 by daybreak. For the rest of your Monday, mostly sunny skies, highs in the mid to upper 50s. A few clouds tonight, lows in the upper 20s. Tuesday and Wednesday, sunny, highs in the 40s. Weather brought to you by L&L Heating and Air Conditioning. For quick, trustworthy, and dependable service, call L&L Heating and Air Conditioning at 720-851-1691. Visit them online at bestdenverhvac.com. That's bestdenverhvac.com. You'll be comfortable with L&L. I'm day weather meteorologist Patrice Sutter in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Joining us live in studio, Matt Crane, Executive Director of the Colorado County Clerks Association. Matt, thank you for taking time to join us this morning.
You bet. Thanks for inviting me. Good to see you.
You guys have put together a letter to Jared Polis regarding Tina Peters. Tell our listeners about the letter.
Well, you know, we've seen a lot of things out in the public square about the fact that the governor may be considering turning Tina Peters over to federal custody. And so, you know, my group has had a lot of conversations about that and decided that they wanted to write a letter to the governor asking that he not do that, and that if he is considering it, please meet with clerks before making any final decisions so that he can hear directly from clerks why we think that's a bad idea.
Why do you think it's a bad idea?
Well, because I think when you look at it, she was convicted, I think, of 3 felonies, 4 misdemeanors. She was convicted in Mesa County, red MAGA Mesa County, by a jury of her peers for crimes where she undermined her election system. And we can go through, the exact things of what she did there. She is not a hero. She is not a political prisoner. She committed multiple felonies against the people of Mesa County and the election system and process in Mesa County. Her actions have created a cascading effect for clerks across the state. You have 63 other clerks who did things the right way. They didn't violate their oath of office. They didn't break the law. They didn't turn their cameras off. They didn't sneak somebody into the office. They didn't allow a copy of their voting system to get online to where bad actors can now dissect it and look for ways to try to get in and do nefarious things if they get physical access to those components. They didn't run around saying things that weren't true, like the election was stolen, or issue reports that says, oh, look, look at my voting system and all of these nefarious things in the voting system, which aren't true, by the way. And when 63 other clerks across the state stood up, and keep in mind, Jeff, this falls mostly on Republican clerks, right? When they stand up in meetings, right, whether it's at breakfast meetings or at county assemblies or central committee meetings, and say, you know what, that's not true. What Tina did is not true. She didn't know the job. She has no clue what she's talking about. That's led to threats, harassment. We had one clerk who has been pregnant during this process. Her unborn child was threatened. We've had clerks threatened with rape, all kinds of terrible things. So there's been this cascading effect to what Tina has done too. So when you look at it in its entirety and the impact that it's had on Mesa County, we can look at it financially too. This has cost Mesa County over $1 million to go through this process, to hire people to come in to run the elections when Tina was sidelined for that, to get a new voting system, the whole 9 yards. When you look at it in its entirety and the crimes that she committed, we felt very strongly that she should not be turned over to federal custody. And look, we've seen in other cases, right, what's happened with Ghislaine Maxwell, right, where she got turned over and now people say she's in a posh, well, she's still in custody, but in a much better situation. Tina did the crime. She needs to do the time.
Are you concerned that Tina might be released, might be pardoned, might be, because she couldn't be pardoned of the state crime? Are you just concerned she might be treated better?
Am I concerned? Well, I think, what are we talking about here, right? Why are we looking at this case? I know, people, am I concerned she's treating, I hear, oh, she's 70 years old. Are we now going to start a process for all 70-year-olds in prison that they should be treated differently if they do a crime? Is that what we're looking at here? What we're concerned about, if she gets turned over to federal custody, first of all, there's no reason for it. This is a state crime. She was convicted here in Colorado by a jury of her peers in Colorado. Who else is this happening for in Colorado right now?
With regards to federal, turning over to federal.
Right.
Here's the challenge I have on the Tina Peters thing. I don't disagree with the fact that she was convicted and the crimes and stuff. I'm not going to go down and fight that. Mm-hmm. Here's the challenge I have with Colorado. I am watching on a near regular basis people commit violent crimes, go what you could say is unpunished or at least released early on, right? And we have this new law with regards to competency as to whether or not we'll even have a trial for you if you end up killing somebody, if the state deems you incompetent. So I watch progressives that lead the state bend over backwards, it seems, to provide opportunities for people that commit violent crimes to get a second chance, they might say.
Right.
But essentially be weak on crime, with the exception of what seems to be one person. And this seems to be like kind of par for the course for progressives, that if you're a real criminal, they'll find ways to get you out. But if you're a political opponent, then the fullness of the judicial system needs to come down upon you. That's where it seems to be unfair for me, and I seem to have a problem on it. What's your response?
Well, I think, look, as a conservative, I hate the same things that you hate in terms of what we're seeing and, progressive policies on law and order. Okay, I want to see a tougher line on that. But what we are talking about here is Mesa County, a jury of her peers. She was convicted. We think, right, conservatives handle law and order better, right? So now you're saying it looks like they're coming after Tina Peters. Okay, they're not, because again, this happened in Red Mesa County. Have you gone through and looked at the other convictions that come through in Mesa County and compare them and the sentencing to, say, what happens in Denver or what happens in Arapahoe, which is unfortunate. It's gone progressive.
Yeah.
Have you looked at that? If you haven't, then you're creating a straw man here, right? She is not a political prisoner. She broke the law. She earned her time. And if people aren't going and looking more broadly at what's happening in Mesa County, and you're just looking at Tina Peters, I think you're making a big mistake, and you're taking people down a path that's likely not true if you look at all of the people who are convicted of crimes in Mesa County.
I guess I'm looking at it more with regards to high-profile cases, right? So take the guy that missed the emergency exits with the truck down I-70. Slams into 28 cars, kills 4 people, gets over 100 years, right? We did the whole jury thing, the prosecution. They followed the process, right? Then Kim Kardashian steps in, right? Calls Jared Polis, and Jared Polis, while never acknowledging that he actually had a conversation, just magically decides to commute the sentence to about the same length that Tina Peters. So high-profile cases pop up. Jared Polis takes calls from progressive leaders, commutes sentences. Tina Peters, another high-profile case, but no, this time we need to stand strong on justice, and I just don't understand that difference right there.
No, I get that, and I don't like the fact that he did that either, but I can't explain why Jared Polis does a lot of what he does. I don't get it. But what I can tell you is that Mesa County, a Republican district attorney in a Republican county, did things right. And so from that standpoint, unless we're looking at everybody in Mesa County and asking for that, then this is a political narrative and something to fight. People are making this a political narrative and something to fight over. Tina did the time. She should finish her sentence. And she's, she can get out, as I understand it, she can get out on parole in 3 years, not the full 9 years. And so I think all of these things are relevant and important. I can't explain Jared Polis, but what I can say is that Tina led a criminal escapade against the people of Mesa County, and they handled it. They put her in jail for it. We like tough law and order. So let's just say that Mesa County did this right, and stop comparing it to progressives in Denver who do other things, right? We can only hold ourselves to what we believe in terms of law and order. Mesa County did that. This is not a big conversation for people in Mesa County. If you talk to people in Mesa County, there are a million other things they're worried about besides Tina Peters.
That's Matt Crane. Matt serves as the executive director of Colorado County Clerks Association. I understand that argument, but at the end of the day, this choice comes to Jared Polis. The pressure's on Jared Polis. The letter sent to Jared Polis, the ability to commute is with Jared Polis. And while you say, you can't explain why Jared Polis would commute some cases and not others, in my mind, because it's with him, regardless of what happened in Mesa County or Denver County or Arapahoe, he seems to be picking and choosing who he's willing to commute. If Kim Kardashian gives the pressure, if the progressive wing gives the pressure, well, now we'll walk back a 100-year sentence to 10 years. If conservatives give the pressure, it's the full weight of the justice system must be maintained. That is what I don't like about this situation. Matt, it seems like Tina Peters is dealing with health issues. Does that weigh into your decision at all? I mean, somebody 70 years old, Gold Star mom, there's concern about how her health is doing in there. I mean, this could get to the point where she dies in prison. Do you think that's a just punishment for what she did?
Well, I think the sentence that she got is a just punishment. Look, do I wish Tina ill health or anything like that? No. I pray that she's okay. But again, she did the time, or she did the crime, and she earned her sentence. There are legal mechanisms here in Colorado. She could apply to the governor to commute his sentence. I don't know. I haven't heard that she's done that. God forbid, if her health is really that failing and she's close to death, she can. There's mechanisms in Colorado law to apply to get out of jail and die at home. I don't think that's. I haven't heard. I would imagine that would get some coverage. I don't think that's. Right. I don't think that's happened yet.
But so would you guys oppose that, like the way that you're opposing the possible transfer?
If she was dying and the governor said that let her out and said she could die at home? No. But look, there's a lot of things that come out right from Tina and her supporters over the last 5 years that aren't true. If she is in poor health, I pray that she gets better. But there's a lot of people who are 70 years old in jail that may not be in great health. So now are we starting a new process or program, right, to say that anybody who says they're in ill health gets out? No, we're only hearing from one side, which is typical for, Tina and her supporters, right? So there are legal mechanisms in place, both to commute her sentence, both to get out if she is in failing health and close to death, which I pray that she's not.
Right.
If she hasn't pulled the trigger yet on either of those, what does that tell you?
I think I've seen some type of applications with regards to her health, but help me understand your concern of what would happen if she got out early.
I just think it sets a terrible precedent. It says that our elections are open season, and when this is something that it's baffling to me, right? Especially on the right, where we take election integrity so seriously, and people say, if somebody commits voter fraud, they need to go to jail. If they undermine our elections, they need to go to jail. Well, guess what? That's what Tina did. She undermined our elections. She made our elections less safe and less secure. So it sends a terrible message that it's open season for people to go and do nefarious things around our elections. Because, if you're doing it, but if you're doing it in the name of 2020 and the stolen election, then, it's okay. You have the full weight of the administration, everybody else coming in to say you should get out of jail, even if you commit crimes. What a terrible message that is. We're supposed to be the party of law and order. Tina broke the law, 3 felonies, 4 misdemeanors. She earned her time in jail. She is not a hero, right? There's so many people on our side of the aisle who have been brainwashed by these bad actors, and quite frankly, some of them are grifters, who are trying to hoist Tina up as some kind of hero. She's not. She broke the law. There was no fraud found in Mesa County, right? Her reports, the reports that came out afterwards, are garbage. There's no evidence of fraud in there. Everything they say in there, files deleted, that's not true. The files, that were required for retention under federal and state law, those were retained. Wi-Fi, like it's some big reveal that there's Wi-Fi components in these voting systems. They're tested and certified knowing that's true. Her third report about ballots getting lost in adjudication, what happened to them. It was a mistake her staff made. All of the ballots were there, and you know how that was discovered? Because Mesa County went and looked at those records they say were deleted and verified that all of that was there, right? There was no election fraud in Mesa County. The only election crimes in Mesa County were perpetuated by Tina Peters and the people with her. She's not a hero.
Do you think in light of that 9 years is a fair sentence?
It's about half of what she could have gotten. And so, yes, I think there's multiple things. And I was in the courtroom that day when the sentence came down, and the judge did a really great, meticulous job of going through this. So there's the crimes that were committed. And then there's the fact that Tina was unapologetic about it. And she went out and actually, made money on talking about these crimes. And so I think that when the judge looked at all of that, the crimes, the seriousness of it, the undermining of our elections, and the fact that she was unapologetic and would do it again, I think that's why he went a little heavier. But it was only half of what she could have gotten, and again, she can get out in 3 years.
I guess I have a hard time. I understand the argument you're making. I have a hard time with it not being a violent crime and getting 9 years. I mean, help me maybe understand other laws, because it seems like you can run a Ponzi scheme and take millions of dollars from people that don't put you away for 9 years. And then you have lots of examples of people in Colorado actually committing violent crimes, harming people, and going away for less than 9 years. I mean, you could rape a child, for instance, in Colorado and get probation. So 9 years just seems so long.
I understand what you're saying about the other cases. And again, just as we were saying before, I don't like a lot. I would like to see stronger penalties across the board. But that doesn't mean that where there's a penalty here that's appropriate. And that, again, the judge did a great job of going through and talking about why he was giving her the sentence that he gave her. I think that's important. People should listen to that. Don't listen to some podcast who's going to give you clips, right? And going to do that.
No,
go back and listen to it. He did a great job of walking through why he gave her that. And it's not to silence her speech. It's not for anything else that you hear from some of the, grifters and liars and bad actors on social media. It's for the reasons I said. Serious crimes. She was unapologetic, unrepentant for it. And in many cases, I think, if I recall correctly, the judge had issued orders throughout that whole process that she totally disregarded, right? So when you look at it in its entirety and listen to the whole thing, he does a great job of laying it out.
That's Matt Crane. Matt's executive director of the Colorado County Clerks Association. He's willing to take calls.
Sure.
That's a lot. We've got lots of calls coming in. We got one line open if you want to get in at 303-696-1971. Text us at 720-819-5115. I do want to ask you about the letter.
Mm-hmm.
So I went back and I looked at the Colorado County Clerks Association's letters and press releases and things you guys have done in the past. I didn't see a lot confronting other problems, particularly with Jenna Griswold, the BIOS passwords going out, the 9-0 smackdown that came from the U.S. Supreme Court, the 200% turnover that's taken place in her office. It seems like there's a lot of problems to be had with Jenna Griswold, but that the association doesn't address those. Can you talk about that?
Sure. I think, there's a big difference between what Tina Peters did and breaking the law like that, and then what Jenna Griswold has done. And a lot of that is political. As an association, we try not to get too close to that. We've certainly let the secretary know and her team know about how unhappy we are. And I think we had clerks that called for her to resign, right? But Tina Peters was different, right? She was a clerk who went and broke the law, violated her oath, and had a devastating impact on elections and clerks across Colorado, where, again, they've been threatened, they've been harassed, intimidated. People have been afraid to go out to their parking lots late at night because there's people out there waiting for them. We've had clerks who haven't run again, and clerks now who are considering not running again because of all of this. When you look at one clerk like Tina who did it wrong and broke the law, and everybody's running to her and treating her like a hero, and you have 63 other clerks who go to work every day, they do the right thing, they uphold their oath, they don't break the law, they don't lead a criminal thing against the people of their own community, and yet these are the people, the men and women who do it right, are the ones who have to deal with death threats. Not that that's good for anybody, but we're upside down here, right? Tina's not a hero. We should celebrate the clerks who do it right.
Right, but I don't think you can necessarily put somebody in jail because, let's say, Jared Polis is no fan of mine. Jared Polis says Jeff Hunt's a crazy social conservative, and then people show up at my house. I can't hold Jared accountable unless he actually incites violence, right? So that doesn't – I understand that the clerks are going through a tough situation as a result of what Tina did, but – that's no reason to imprison somebody.
It's not, but she's not in she's not in jail for her speech. I'm talking about the cascading effect that her actions have had. And let's not forget, we had an election office in Archuleta County that was firebombed earlier this year by an election denier, or the suspect is an election denier. So, we have to make sure, innocent until proven guilty. Tina's not in jail for her speech. She's in jail for her crimes. But the cascading effect of what other people have done because they've been lied to about what she did, and they try to hold her up as a hero, there are cascading effects to these things.
Yeah,
right?
But your letter says that part of the reason she should fulfill the fullness is because of what her speech has done to encourage other people to harass, but she hasn't done that. She hasn't incited anybody. So do you think it's fair to encourage the governor to keep her in prison in part because of her speech?
I think what we're saying there, and maybe we could have said it more clearly, but she is unrepentant. She has not admitted that she's wrong at all, and she would, if she got out, she's not going to be a clerk again, I don't think, but, she would do the same thing again. And I think the idea is, right, if you're going to get out of jail, right, there's supposed to be some kind of rehabilitation, right, some kind of, she is only double and triple down on that. And so, I agree with you that kind of thing doesn't directly lead to violence, right? Like Steve Scalise, I don't hold that on, the people who were, in that guy's ear, Bernie Sanders and others who were that guy was listening to. But there's no question that Tina's actions and clerks standing up and telling the truth has led to threats and, in the case of Archuleta County, violence. There's no question about that.
Matt Crane, Executive Director, Colorado County Clerks Association, joining us live in studio. Let's do a phone call. Frank, Wyoming. Good morning, Frank. You're on with Jeff and Bill and Matt Crane.
Morning. Hey, Frank, are you there?
Did we lose Frank?
He should be there. Yeah, move on to D.
All right, let's do D in Elbert County. D, good morning. You're on with Jeff and Bill and Matt Crane.
Good morning. Mr. Matt Crane, You probably wouldn't have any issue with Tina being out on bond, would you? Like most, I mean, if she was a child rapist or a murderer, she could be out on bond. You guys aren't concerned about her being out. Just you would prefer that she's under state protection rather than federal protection. Do I understand that correctly?
I think if there's a legal mechanism for if she was out on bond or something like that, that would be one thing. But we're talking about something that is extraordinary here, and I think that's what we're opposed to.
Okay, cool. So you think it would be fine for her to be out on bond like most people who are charged by the system?
Yeah, I think they have to take a look. I mean, Tina certainly demonstrated before that she's a flight risk, right? So after the cyber symposium in 2021, where she went and hid out for, I can't remember how much for how long it was, but I think that
when her hotel room was busted in.
What's that? Well, that's what she says. That's what she says. But she was gone for at least a month after that, while her staff had to deal with the fallout of her criminal actions. So,
well, she maintained her office. She stayed in touch with everybody, right? I mean, you know it well enough.
Well,
no. Another question would be: you said that everybody in Mesa County is a Republican.
I didn't say that. No, I did not say that.
Well, that it's a Republican system there.
It is. That's true. It's a red county. You look at the voter registration numbers, that kind of thing. It's well known. It's a Republican county.
Have you known more than 2 Republicans? Because are they all the same? Are they all just as conservative, just as law-abiding?
No, of course not.
Okay, because it sounded like you were saying that since they're a Republican county, then they're all, they are all law-abiding and they would never cheat a system, right? Now, what about the
I didn't say that, but okay.
who are working for Dominion at the same time that they were working for Mesa County? What about those folks?
But what about that? There's nothing illegal about that.
When they were working for the county, and then they were at a party that you were hosting.
Okay, let's stick with the facts here. I didn't host a party, and there's nothing illegal about somebody working for Dominion while working for a county. A lot of people have side jobs who work in county government, elected officials.
But that information was denied when it was brought to the surface, Matt.
Who was it denied by?
By a lot of those individuals.
No, it wasn't. I don't think that the people you're talking about have ever denied publicly that they did some work for Dominion. Facts matter.
So why don't you go ahead and share the names of some of those people?
What's that?
Because I know you know them well.
It's already out there. It's already out. Bobby Gross and Sheila Reiners. Right. Sheila Reiner. Right. They. I don't think they've ever denied it.
I got a question in this. I got to interrupt. D, what's the point? So they were pulling a paycheck from Dominion at the time. They were working for the county. The point of that is what? What conclusion are you drawing from that?
You cannot be unbiased if you're on somebody's payroll.
Why not, D? Why do you think you can't be unbiased? And what I'm thinking is, what do you mean if they're on the Dominion payroll, how do they make extra money by changing an election result? What sort of incentive process are you insinuating Dominion has in order to incentivize people that are working for them full or part-time in order to change election results? Aren't you starting with the conclusion that Dominion is changing election results and then you're working backwards? You need to, in my mind, justify why working for Dominion, part or full-time, while also holding down a county office, necessarily negates your objectivity or ability to do the job. So please explain that to me. Help me out.
The Dominion contract was not going to be renewed because of all the problems with the system. So Tina, they actually had to forge Tina's signature and use her stamp when Tina was, as Matt said, when she was under great threat and she was under protective custody. So they renewed the Dominion contract, even though that was not the intent going forward. It cost the county millions of dollars. And that's not good for the taxpayer. The taxpayers had to pay that.
I'll give Matt the final word. We've got to get to a break here. Dee, thank you for the call. Go ahead, Matt. Final word.
Dee, thanks. I appreciate the call on the questions. I think facts matter, and the county had to get a new voting system and spend $1 million because Tina Peters led a criminal endeavor that allowed illegal access to her voting system. That's why they had to spend $1 million.
Matt Crane, Executive Director of the Colorado County Clerks Association, joining us live in studio. He, along with other clerks, have sent a letter to Governor Polis calling for Tina Peters not to be transferred into federal custody, and then have asked for a meeting with him prior to any decision. Has he responded to this letter?
Not that I know of, no. Not as of coming in this morning.
This was sent on Friday.
Right.
So we'll continue this conversation. Can you stick around?
Sure.
I'd love to have you. He's taking full phone calls, text messages hot. Matt Crane live in studio. Let's talk the gun room. Billy, we got a new sponsor with the gun room. They buy, sell, and consign any and all firearms from antiques to modern, vintage, hunting, and tactical. We work closely, they work closely with families that have lost loved ones who have a gun collection to make sure that that gun collection can be properly consigned or sold. Buy now ahead of the new heavily restrictive gun control laws coming to Colorado. Get the guns you need, want, while you still can, without additional unconstitutional red tape and extra training. That's going to start in August of 2026. Why do you want to support big box stores when you can shop and save at small, local, family-owned gun shops like the Gun Room before they all disappear? This is one of the few that's still sticking around, and they're doing all the work to make sure that they can maintain and stay open in the midst of all of the craziness coming from the state capitol. The Gun Room has the widest variety of firearms in Colorado. Their shop looks like a gun shop, not plastic, lots of wood. Inventory changes daily, and there are well over 1,000 firearms in stock at any given time. Bill, I went in to meet with Wayne, and they had dueling sets from the 1700s.
Sounds like a suggestion here. I'm not feeling uncomfortable. I feel very uncomfortable at this point.
I know Bill and I,
worried about this.
people ask all the time, when are Bill and Jeff going to get into a duel?
Yeah, exactly. We could Nerf guns. I'll go for it.
I have
Yeah,
a
why
feeling
not?
with all the video games you play that
Yeah.
I would lose this.
Oh, no, not at all, because it's not a video game. I have to actually shoot something real. There's no way. do it in video games, then I might have you. But no, real life, I don't know about that.
Denver's oldest firearm dealer is the Gun Room. Go check out the Gun Room. They're in Lakewood, the Gun Room. And by the way, ladies, we have solved it all for you. For holidays, just buy a gift card to the Gun Room. Done. Bang, 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 bomb. All done. Great. You get the gift card that the man in your life's going to love. Go to the Gun Room, proud sponsors of the Jeff and Bill Show. Very happy to have them on board. All right, phone lines totally hot. Well done, Matt. It makes for good radio.
I'm here for you.
All right. We'll continue. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710, KNUS.
Live in studio with us is Matt Crane, Executive Director of the Colorado County Clerks Association. Matt, I don't think you've blown up our text messages or lines like this in a long time. This is super hot, even to my personal phone. Why are there, here's a text message, why are there no audit standards on signature verification? Why no audit of the voter rolls? Why no chain of custody on shipments of undeliverable ballots? You want to answer any of those? There's a lot of questions.
Sure. I can tell you one of the things that we've taken the lead on as an association is pushing for stronger audits around signature verification. The rules around that are not strong enough, quite frankly, where it says, they used to say counties periodically audit. And so we've been working on this over the last few years, trying to come up with a more robust audit of signature verification. So we're in the process of doing that now. We're also leading a conversation about how to improve the risk limiting audit, which is the post-election tabulation audit that we do. So we are looking at these things to try to come up to work on better, more robust audits, to look for gaps and to help build voter confidence, because Lord knows if there are gaps in our process, we want to know that so we can close it. One of the biggest fallacies out there is that clerks just look the other way and say everything is fine and let's just move on. We are constantly analyzing our processes and our systems, looking for gaps, trying to close any gaps that come up and make these systems more resilient, have more integrity, and be stronger. We're constantly working on that.
Matt Crane, Executive Director, Colorado County Clerks Association. Let's go to the phone lines. Gammy in Colorado Springs. Good morning, Gammy. You're on with Jeff and Bill and Matt.
Good morning. Good morning, Mr. Matt. You know, and everyone knows that our elections have consequences, and because of and I believe fraud, we have now got children being mutilated in Colorado, our rights as parents destroyed, our taxes up, our whole state has turned into a gulag. And I have written to the clerks many times, and this is what I want to say to you. First of all, I find it egregious and shameful the way you talk about a woman who literally believed in what she was showing. Dominion machines went in and erased records, and that means she can't prove it unless she backed it up, which she did. But that's not the biggest issue. Here's what we've got. Mark Cook, Clay Parikh, Ed Solomon, Sean Smith, Seth Keshel, Jeff O'Donnell, and many, many of the Mesa reports, the Venezuela and Serbian whistleblowers who are in the hands of the DOJ. And that data was given last year, but it was the Biden DOJ. Even your people in Mesa were colluding with feds, and you don't want her evidence put into the courtroom. The judge stopped it. He called her a charlatan. That's not a judge. That's a hack. And all of you all have done an injustice to every voter in this state because you stole our votes by denying that.
All right, Gammy, we need to give Matt a chance to respond.
And first of all,
Go
Gammy,
ahead,
I just got to say first before we Gammy, hang on a sec. Gammy, hang on a sec. I do have to let you know that I understand what you said about Tina believing what she was doing. I can believe all that money inside of the bank really, really belongs to me. I don't get to go in there and take it. I can believe that my neighbor has stolen my lawnmower. I don't get to break into his garage and get it back. You don't get to commit crime based on your belief, with all respect, Gammy. Belief is not enough.
Matt responds. There's a lot thrown at you.
Well, sure. And I'll just say, Gammy, thanks for calling in. I appreciate your calls. I understand your perspective. And I think, unfortunately, you have been led down a path by grifters and bad actors to a place where that's so much of what you just said is not true. 63 other clerks did it right. Tina Peters, there was no crime. The image that was taken, the reports that come out, they show no crimes. The records required for retention under state and federal law were retained. Tina didn't even know that happened. The reports, like I said before, the Wi-Fi capabilities that are in Report 2, these systems are tested and certified under state and federal law. Knowing that those components are there, No, and report number 3, no ballots were lost in the adjudication process. There was a mistake that Tina's people made. They had to reset adjudication process, change the filters on it, but all of the ballots were there. You have been told things that aren't true by people who have a political and financial gain in convincing you that it's not true. And I'm sorry that's the case. I know that's hard to accept when that's the message that you keep getting day in and day out from these people, but that is the truth.
To her point about the state now is, we're at a place where we're mutilating children. I think this is really important for people to understand. We're surrounded by progressives in this state. Like, I go to the rallies. I probably go to more rallies than any other Republican. And this day I go to the Democrat rallies. And they're true believers. 30,000 showed up for Bernie Sanders. 30,000. And it's a gut punch to people to be like, no, I thought we're in a center-left state. No. I think Colorado could easily be labeled the most progressive state in the nation. The voters want Bernie Sanders, AOC. AOC is the top-rated politician in this state. You have to come to terms with that.
That's exactly right. And our voter rolls aren't millions of ghost voters on our voter rolls. Jeff, what you said is just right. The demographics in Colorado have changed, and we see that in a number of different ways. The Dems organize extremely well, and here on our side in the Republican Party, our party, is such a mess, and all of the infighting, keeps us. It's going to be a long shot to win some of these elections anyway, but as long as we continue this infighting and fighting and having to, go back and forth about, Tina Peters and these lies about our elections, it keeps us from being able to take on the real issues that we have to face, which is going to be a long shot anyway, because as you said, there are so many progressives in this state.
You look at Douglas County, the shift of their school board, right? 20-point shift wasn't because of fake votes in Douglas County, in my mind.
Agreed.
It's because all the moms went woke.
That's
all right, we'll continue. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710, KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Phone lines are hot as joining us live in studios, Matt Crane, Executive Director of the Colorado County Clerks Association. He has drafted a letter representing the county clerks saying that Tina Peters should remain in state custody, not be transferred to the federal prisons. Was this agreed to by all the county commissioners? The clerks?
No, that's a great question, Jeff. So we had a conversation last week we had a clerks-only meeting. We had 45 of the 64 clerks on the call. When we were discussing the letter, the executive board was resolute that they were going to send the letter. And the question was, do other clerks want to sign on? All 45 clerks who were on the call that night said yes. I did have one clerk call me the next morning and express some concern about that and say that if we were putting individual names on there, not to put hers, but because timing's of the essence and we were concerned that the governor may be moving quickly on this, we decided not to put any names on it and just send it from the association. But it was perfectly within our processes and bylaws the way we went about handling this letter.
Have you heard from Republican county clerks that disagreed with you on this?
Just one.
Just one?
Just one.
That's it? Out of all of them?
Out of all of them.
One?
Yes. I'm telling you, this has been so hard on Republican clerks who go to work every day and uphold their oath of office and don't break the law, which is what Tina did.
Let's see, Billy, we got, let's get time to Francis and Golden. Good morning, Francis. You're on with Jeff and Bill and Matt Crane.
Morning.
Hey, guys. Hey, Matt, you were pretty involved, I think, or at least attended multiple days of the trial. Did you?
No, I only went for the one day on the day of the sentencing.
Oh, okay. Do you know, or have you, been told or anything that any of these jurors, I mean, generally they would have plenty of screening questions for these jurors that the court would ask, and then questions, that the attorneys would be able to ask to do voir dire. And there's been this kind of weird floating implication that somehow the jury was tampered with or packed with liberals or something like that.
We got about 20 seconds. Quick response.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Matt.
I can't help but imagine they ask these things.
No, I wish I had more info on you. For you. I don't. I didn't really pay attention to that. I do know Dan Rubenstein is a great district attorney and a Republican, and obviously as the DA was very involved in that process. So I would have a hard time thinking that
Matt's
anything
going to stick around. We'll continue. You're listening to Jeff and Bill.
KNUS.